I want you to have really cool, fresh expressions to use in any kind of presentation or meeting that feel natural and improve your confidence and your fluency in English. The expressions I'm gonna show you are very practical and useful, and they're not like fancy and expressions that will make you look very good, but nobody really uses in real life. So, no firstly, secondly, thirdly. Boring. Nobody uses them in real life. They are great for your IELTS exam, but when you speak, there are better expressions. So I created a presentation today. Let's get down to it. A nice way to start on a nice tone is just by saying good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and then today I'd like to discuss. Today I'd like to discuss the topic. Today I'd like to discuss very good expressions for presentations. Or today I'd like to discuss the figures of the last quarter. Today I'd like to discuss. Alternatively, we can say today we'll be talking about. Today we'll be talking about. So hello everyone or good morning everyone. Today we'll be talking about the figures of the last quarter. Notice here the future continuous. Today we'll be talking about dark L. Today we'll be talking about the figures of the last quarter. Today we'll be talking about. So this is a little introduction, and then you can go on to some structuring, right? So you can say we'll cover, we'll discuss. So again, we have the future here. We'll cover, we'll discuss, we'll be looking at. Future continues. We'll be looking at. We'll be looking at. So we can say we'll be looking at my team and what the numbers, what the figures are in each category, for example, right? So if we're talking about expressions for presentations, we can say we'll cover introduction, we'll cover expressions for structuring, and we're gonna cover some for the middle and some for the conclusion. So this is everything we'll be covering, and here you can use the future or the future continuous. It doesn't really make a difference, so choose the one that you like, and it's a nice way of structuring. We can also say first we'll be talking about this and then we'll move on to this. So this is a very short and nice way of structuring your presentation, but try to leave out any wordy, kind of too formal or too academic way of saying firstly, secondly, thirdly. That in particular doesn't come off as very natural, doesn't come across as casual or chill, but it comes off comes across a little too formal. You could totally say on the one hand, on the other hand, yes, but firstly, secondly, maybe not the best expression for this. Let's continue with what you can say at the beginning. So at the very beginning, you can say to begin with or first off. I personally like to begin with, so this is something that if you have watched my videos for a while, you will see that I repeat quite often, and this is the thing. You don't have to be super creative every time, right? So you can choose your favorite expressions and use them again and again, right? There's no problem with this, so if you like to begin with, you can use to begin with all the time, and if you prefer, well, first off, then you can start with first off. So first off, let's see the last quarter of last year and then compare it to the first quarter of this year, for example. Next up, we have changing topics. What I love about changing topics is that it can be for presentations, but also for conversations, or when you feel the conversation is getting off topic, right? So you need to bring back the focus so that you can keep up the time. So you can say, now we'll move on to this year's first quarter, or to the first quarter of this year, right? Let's move on to, so imagine to colleagues are debating the quarter of last year, so the last quarter of last year, and then you can say, well, now let's move on to this quarter. Right, so you change topic in a very nice way, very conversational, very casual, so very recommended. You can also say moving on to, and you mention your next topic. So all of them are equivalent. They are kind of synonyms, honestly. So choose your favorite one. I brought you 2 more examples. So here are the results of my month. Here are the results of my team. Here are the results of our quarter, right? So you choose depending on your presentations topic. And as you can see on the slide, and here you can use this, for example, if you want to read something out loud, or if the numbers are there, but you want your audience to pay special attention to a detail, or you want to draw everybody's attention to one point. So you can say, well, as you can see on the slide, and then you mention the detail. For example, as you can see on the slide, here there are 5 expressions, but you don't have to use them all, right? So you can choose your favorite one. So as you can see on the slide, as you can see on the slide, as you can see on the slide. And to wrap up, we have expressions for the conclusion. So the conclusion is maybe where you do a little summary of the key points of the presentation or something like that. And at this point, you can use expressions like to wrap up or in conclusion. I generally use to wrap up. You can also say wrapping up, right? So these are great expressions that you can use anywhere. For example, if you are talking and you want to come to a conclusion, you can always say, well, to wrap up or wrapping up, and you say your last comment. To wrap up. At the end, I thought you can totally say, I'll be happy to discuss any questions you might have. So this might be better than just saying any questions or do you have any questions, but that's also possible where you say, do you guys have any questions, or well, are there any questions in the room? You can also say, I'll be happy to discuss any questions you might have. And after this, it's always good to leave a little bit of time so that the audience can also think of some questions. And yeah, and then you can go on to a discussion about them. In this video, I explain you what to do the minutes before a meeting starts to get ready, to get in the mood, to start thinking in English before you go into the meeting. So you can go watch this video afterwards because they complement each other, the 2 videos.